Of the Torrington City Council. This is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Good evening and welcome to all and being brave enough to come out this evening. So thank you for being here. We do have Ryan Caith here tonight with us from KGOS, KERM Radio. This is being broadcast live on the radio stations and will be up on YouTube. We also have Miss Amber Wolfington here from the Torrington Telegram. Welcome. This is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. This is the fourth council meeting of the year, second council meeting in February. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Councilman Wayne Deal to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda are the mayor's informational items. Last Saturday evening, Becky and I had the distinct honor and privilege of attending the annual City and Rural Firefighters Award Dinner at our own Pony Express room here in the city building. It was a pleasant evening and dinner with awards ranging from Rookie of the Year to an award for 45 years as a Torrington volunteer fireman. Thank you to the fire departments for including the mayor, council, state fire marshal, and state treasurer as your guests. Our local firefighters are dedicated, sacrificial, well-trained, and a great credit to our city, towns, and county. For as small as we are, dedicated citizens provide us with first-class emergency response. Firefighters, emergency medical services, and peace officers. Thank you all for your service to your community. Because we live in a dry climate, moisture is always a welcome sight. Thank you, Streets Department and other city employees, for your prompt and efficient snow removal. Thank you, residents, for keeping your sidewalks free from snow and ice. And thank you to all the commercial snow removal contractors for your efficient work. Again, with these winds and very cold temperatures, be sure to take time to check in on your relatives, friends, and neighbors, especially the seniors, the children, the disabled, and even the pets. Please slow down, please watch for pedestrians, and please do not use your cell phones while driving. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the February 4th, 25 council meeting as published.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes of the February 4th council meeting as published.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Victron to approve the consent agenda, which includes the February 4th, 25 council meeting minutes as published. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the consent agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda itself. And I told you gentlemen earlier, but I'll say it here to the public. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item 6, the financial report, as our clerk treasurer is out sick today. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item 6. That will be presented, the financial report, at our next regularly scheduled meeting in March.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the agenda as amended with the removal of item 6.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the agenda, amended agenda, removing item 6. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the amended agenda to remove item 6 and approve the remainder signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the agenda as amended is approved. Next item on the agenda is what we call the public forum. There are no takers for that this evening, but I always like to explain that. This is a time on the agenda. It's for non-agenda items. There is a time limit of 2 minutes, and the speaker must sign up before the meeting. This is a time for council to listen. No action will be taken. And there are forms out there, and if one wants to take advantage of that, fill out the form and place it in that box. All right. Under action items, we have several public hearings tonight. So council will now be leaving regular session and will now convene as a public hearing. And I am looking at item number 1 on the agenda, the public hearings regarding 2025 liquor license renewals, license terms. This is for retail liquor licenses, license terms from April 1, 25 through March 31 of 26. And I'd call on First Chief of Police, Matt Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our annual review of our liquor licenses. Ms. Sylvia has worked with the Wyoming Liquor Division to get all of these folks through the application process and ready for renewal, and we have no objections to any of the renewals listed.
Okay, I appreciate that, Chief. Thank you. So we are open for the public hearing, and part of the public hearing process is public comments for and against. So I'd like to go through the list on page 1 under subsection A. There are, I didn't count them actually, but they start with essential fuel and they end with Evencio LLC, and I'll take them in order. So we are in public comment section, for or against. And I'll start with Essential Fuel LLC, doing business as Essential Fuels. Do I have any public comment for or against granting of that retail liquor license? Would you please come up to the podium so we can hear you, sir?
Eric Reicher with Essential Fuels. I guess all we're trying to do is kind of continue on with what we're doing at the store. Last year, this time this would be our first year. We had to have a few different sessions because we're just timing. We opened up the liquor store back up, or the drive-through liquor store, but currently the bar is not open, and we'll see how that goes moving forward here. But not really looking to change anything as today, but yeah, just hoping to kind of grow that business a little more. So.
All right, appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Reichert. All right, any other comment regarding Essential Fuel LLC doing business as Essential Fuels? Seeing none, I'll move on to the second one. Old Gray Fox, Inc., doing business as the Mint Bar. Are there any public comments for? Mr. Fitch.
Everybody. Hello, my name's Ethan Fitch, and I'm with Mint Bar, Old Gray Fox, and I'll just put my vote for. And we're 7 years into this, and things are going okay, so we're feeling comfortable, and we appreciate you letting us do this.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fitch. All right, any comments against on Old Gray Fox? Seeing none, thank you. I'll move on. Carolyn Garcia, DBA La Familia Prado. Any comments for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. Chugwater Brewing Company, Inc., doing business as J&B Liquor. Mr. Alden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Eric Alden on behalf of Chugwater Brewing Company. Essentially, just want to thank the town, thank Sylvia, thank the chief for the cooperation we've had and the service that they've provided to us. And if anybody has any questions on the council, be glad to answer them. If not, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Alden. What would you say?
I just wondered if you wanted to talk for that one. Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
All right, we are next at Adrian Garcia, doing business as Thirsties. Any public comment for or against? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one, Maverick Inc., doing business as Maverick Store number 293. Any public comment for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. The Cigarette Store LLC, doing business as Smoker Friendly Gasomat. Any public comment for or against? Next one is SS&G Inc., doing business as Holiday Inn Express. Any comment for or against? Seeing none. Next one is Open Barrel Brewing Company, LLC, DBA, the Open Barrel Brewing Company. Any comment? Oh, I see Mr. Kilgore here.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, it's been a great 6 years. Isn't that amazing? So we just like to thank Sylvia also and Chief Johnson. They've done a wonderful job with us being prepared. And when we make mistakes on our licensing, they're always friendly and helpful for us. So I'd like to thank them also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kilgore. All right, next one on the list is Torrington Hotel LLC, doing business as Torrington Cobblestone Hotel. Any comments for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. Next one on the list is TJL LLC, doing business as Bronco Bar. Any comments for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. Next one is San Pedro JC LLC, doing business as San Pedro Taqueria. Any comments for or against? Seeing none. Next one is Krenmark LLC, DBA LTD Edition. Any comments for or against? All right, and the last one on the retail license list is Evencio, I think that's how you say that, LLC, doing business as Thrifty's Gas and Liquor. Any public comments for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. All right, we have opened this public hearing on these liquor licenses. We've had public comments for and against, so I will at this time close this public hearing and will entertain a council vote. So I would entertain a motion to approve the liquor licenses in item 1A of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the retail liquor licenses for renewal for license terms beginning April 1 of 25 through March 31 of 26 as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Victron to approve in item 1A, to approve the retail liquor licenses for license renewals for the license term of April 1, 25 through March 31 of 26. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Warren. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
I just have one question, Mr. Mayor. The Cohenmark LLC, what's the business name of that?
Mr. Alden?
Is that one?
It's the limited downtown.
They have two.
Sure. Go ahead.
Eric Alden on behalf of Krenmark LLC. Limited edition is in the town market building downtown.
Oh,
I don't know if
okay.
you're familiar with it. That is the establishment
Okay.
associated with that license.
All right.
Thank
I remember that now.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Probably should have got up and said
No,
something at the
that's-
time.
That's fine. Appreciate it, Eric. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval of the retail liquor licenses set forth in item 1A on tonight's agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those liquor licenses in item 1A for retail liquor licenses are approved. Thank you, folks. All right, we are now on item 1B, limited club liquor licenses, and I would reopen for the public hearing. And on these four, I'd call on Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is essentially the same procedure for our club licenses. Again, Ms. Sylvia has worked with the Liquor Division to get those applications taken care of, and we have no objection to approval for all of them.
All right, thank you, Chief. All right, I'm going to go through these. There's four of them. Public comment for or against on the first one, Elks BPO 1726, doing business as Elks 1726. These are for limited club liquor licenses. Any public comment for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. Next one on the list is Torrington Lodge, number 664, Loyal Order of Moose, doing business as Torrington Moose Lodge 664. Any public comments for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. Third one on the list, Travis Snow Post 5, doing business as American Legion Club. Any public comments for or against? Seeing none. Last one on our list here is City of Torrington, doing business as Country Club. Any comments for or against? All right, we have gone through public comment section in this public hearing, so I will close this public hearing, and we will move on to a council vote.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the limited club liquor licenses for renewal for the term length as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Victron in item 1B to approve the limited club liquor licenses as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Deal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the limited club liquor licenses set forth in item 1B signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those limited club liquor licenses set forth in item 1B are approved. Next item on the agenda is item 1C, restaurant liquor licenses. We are open for public hearing, but I'd first call again on Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Same process for our restaurants. Ms. Sylvia has worked with the Liquor Division to make sure that all those applications are complete, and we have no objection to approving these licenses.
Thank you, Chief. All right, let's go through these. Public comments for or against. First item there is Tiffany Leslie, doing business as Bronco Grill House. Any comments for or against? Seeing none, I'll move on. The second one here is Pamela J. Delgado Garcia, doing business as Garcia's Mexican Restaurant. Any public comment for or against? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close this public hearing and move to council for a vote on those two licenses in item 1C, restaurant liquor licenses.
I'll make the motion to approve the restaurant liquor licenses as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Kelly, item 1C, to approve the restaurant liquor licenses as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Deal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Item 1C, restaurant liquor licenses. All those in favor of approval of those, as set forth, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those restaurant liquor licenses set forth in item 1C are approved. All right, last one on the list is item 1D, microbrewery permit, dual holding. We are open for a public hearing on this. And one more time, Chief Johnson, I'll call on you for this section.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the last time, thankfully. Ms. Sylvia has spoken with the Liquor Division. This application is complete, and we have no objection to approval.
All right, thank you, Chief. All right, we are open in a public hearing for public comments for or against Open Barrel Brewing Company, LLC, doing business as Open Barrel Brewing Company. Any public comments for or against? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close this public hearing, and we will move on to a council vote. I would entertain a motion on item 1D to approve the microbrewery permit as set forth.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the Open Barrel Brewing Company application for microbrewing permit.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the Open Barrel Brewing Company microbrewery permit. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Victor. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor, item 1D of approving the microbrewery permit for Open Barrel Brewing Company, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that microbrewery permit set forth in item 1D is approved. Thank you, folks.
Goes our audience.
When we get home.
We gotta start doing this.
Do one a meeting. Lottery stuff.
All right, we are on item number 2, proclamation, proclaiming February 15 to 22, 2025 as National FFA Week. And I have a proposed proclamation for National FFA Week, and I will read it. Reads as follows. National FFA Week Proclamation, February 15 to 22, 2025. Whereas FFA and agricultural education provide a strong foundation for the youth of America and the future of food, fiber, and natural resources systems, and whereas FFA promotes premier leadership, personal growth, and career success among its members, and whereas agricultural education and FFA ensure a steady supply of young professionals to meet the growing needs in the science, business, and technology of agriculture, and whereas the FFA motto, learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve, gives direction and purpose to these students who take an active role in succeeding in agricultural education, and whereas FFA promotes citizenship, volunteerism, patriotism, and cooperation, therefore be it resolved that I, Herb Doby, Mayor of the City of Torrington, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim February 15 to 22, 2025 as National FFA Week. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and signature as Mayor of the City of Torrington, Wyoming, this 18th day of February, 2025, signed Herb Doby, Mayor, attest Lynette Strecker, Clerk Treasurer.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the proclamation and authorize your signature.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Victorin in item number 2 to approve the FFA proclamation and to approve my signing it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation for FFA Week and approving my signing it, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that proclamation is approved. Next item on the agenda, or actually, we're going to leave again regular session and enter a public hearing and convene as a Board of Adjustment. Goshen County, or Go Goshen, is requesting a vacation and replat of Cold Springs Business Park third filing. So this is open for public hearing, but I wanted to call on Dennis Estes first.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What you have in front of you on the screen is the Cold Springs Business Park. Right there is Bumgar's. Right here's the new tire shop, which necessitated everything that's going on tonight. When they built the tire shop, he realized he needed, I think, a little more room to the south. So they moved his south lot line south. In doing so, they moved the next two lots a little bit south just to adjust the line a little bit. They did this on the left here where I'm pointing is before as it sits. And on the right, if I can move it over, that they blocked out a couple spots for some signage, like right there in that lot. And they broke this off that first lot when you come in the main entrance to the north, where they always used to park that equipment. They broke that off into a separate lot. So basically what they're doing is making this one lot 2 and adjusting these property lines on the next 3 lots to the south. Unfortunately, because of a sick member, my planning board couldn't convene a quorum, so they did not meet or make a decision. But there's really not a big deal, and staff would recommend approval. I have no public comment from anybody.
Okay, and we, sitting as Board of Adjustment, have authority to approve this regardless of the Planning Commission.
Correct. You're the ultimate deciding board. The planning commission is just a sounding board to you, this board, this body.
All right, we are in an open public hearing. Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Estes. Are there any public comments for or against this request for a vacation and replat of Cold Springs Business Park third filing? Mr. Taylor, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Do you have any questions? I think Mr. Estes did a fine job of explaining the purpose of this little transaction. We got rid of that landscape easement because we couldn't get anybody on the board like Eric Alden to help us fix that, you know, do the maintenance, mow the weeds, plant the flowers and stuff.
Since he's gone, you can.
I can talk all I want since he's gone. Don't worry, we'll hear about it. That's why we did that, in case you were wondering. Do you have any other questions? The signage, the bigger lot, Dennis mentioned the signage on the smaller little piece. The bigger lot on the north side of the road is also for signage. We have the board, and that is we have some plans for, in the future, providing space for all of our tenants to put up. We haven't decided what yet, but some kind of special signage to advertise their location and so on, and their businesses and so on. That's why it's a little bit bigger. It's not just for one thing.
And the way this reads, Bob, if we approve this tonight, you're free to do what you intend to do if the council approves this, right?
That's correct. If you approve it, what we'll change the title block on the plat, but that's it. It, of course, now says, I can't remember what it says, but
Third filing.
yeah. But it's preliminary plat as final, so we're ready to finish her up.
So it shows lots 8, 9, 13, 20, and 21.
Yes.
Which ones are those?
You think I can read that? Or do you think I have them memorized?
Dennis can,
Dennis can read them.
I think.
So this is 19, and Bob's got it there. That's 8 right there, 8A, 8B. That's 9. And I can't read that one, Bob.
11, it looks like.
13.
13.
Or
13. Here, we can blow it up some more. 13A and 20A and 21. Everything that faces the highway.
Okay. And they're all zoned IP?
Yes, sir.
Of course, the current owners in the subdivision, we have to have them approve and allow this also, and that's no problem. We've talked to them, so.
All right, gentlemen, any further questions for Mr. Taylor?
I would think the tire business is probably in favor of this since they're already an existing structure there now.
I would certainly hope so. It's their deal.
But as I think Dennis said, this was published and letters were sent out and there was no negative.
Correct. I sent letters to everybody within 150 feet of this property. So,
That's
Yeah.
Boongars.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Those were fours. Do we have any public comments against? I see none against. I will go ahead and close this public hearing as us sitting as Board of Adjustment, and we'll go on to a council vote. I would entertain a motion to approve the request by Go Goshen for a vacation and replat of the Cold Springs Business Park, third filing as presented.
Now, is Go Goshen formerly the Economic Development?
That new name for economic, what we used to call economic development.
Mr. Mayor, I would make the motion to approve this change in plating.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the vacation and replat of Cold Springs Business Park, third filing as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of approving as Board of Adjustment this vacation and replat as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that request for vacation and replat as presented is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And we will now return to regular session. We are now on item number 4, authorization to purchase a used 2020 Dodge Charger police package from the Wyoming Highway Patrol for $8,000. And I'd call on Chief Matt Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Really, we're just looking to continue on the pathway of getting rid of our civilian Chargers. I got a call from, or actually I was speaking with the Highway Patrol last week and found out that they had a vehicle that had come in that they would recommend our consideration for. It's a 2020. The previous vehicles were 2019s. It has exactly 120,000 and a couple miles on it. It's been very well maintained. Brian and I drove down last week and checked it out. As near as we can tell, the car's in as good of shape as all the other vehicles that we have purchased from Highway Patrol, all of which are working out really well. In looking at where we're seeing the budget next year, it seems unlikely that we're going to be in a position where we can do a lot of replacements next year. And we believe that this vehicle we can obtain with very minimal cost. Best case scenario with our current budget that we have for vehicle replacement and the sale of the existing Charger that we'll be replacing, we could be out virtually nothing for the purchase. Worst case scenario, assuming that we get a lower amount of the sale for auctioning the existing Charger, we could be needing to come up with $3,000 or so to implement the sale or the purchase. We have that amount of money available in other line items of our budget that we'd be able to move into that vehicle purchase category to make ourselves in a good position for that purchase. I would ask if you do approve this, please consider approving the check to be issued immediately so that we can get this off their lot. They would like to have it gone as soon as possible, rather than waiting for the next council meeting. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chief, this is the third police package Charger that would be the third that the city would purchase from the Highway Patrol? I think it's third.
I think this comes up on our fourth, if I recall.
Fourth.
We have Sergeant Polson's, Officer Cross's, now Officer Smith, and this will be the fourth.
And what we're doing is getting rid of those 2018 civilian package Chargers.
Yeah, and it really makes a big difference for our officers. If for those of you who maybe haven't had the opportunity to see one of the civilian package Chargers, they're not laid out for law enforcement. So we've got, light controllers screwed into different parts of the console, really, really low cost light bars that people often have a hard time hearing or seeing, I guess, seeing for the light bar, hearing for the siren. And they are pretty limited in their service. The Highway Patrol cars are coming to us with literally a $20,000 upfitting package that's been professionally installed and are really well done. They have some miles on them, but they've been really well maintained, and they're completely well laid out for law enforcement use, which we have found to be very desirable. They also have all-wheel drive, which on a day like today is very desirable.
And Chief, you said that you and Brian went down. To clarify, Brian Evans, the city mechanic?
That is correct. Sorry about that. Brian Evans, our mechanic, who's doing an amazing job for us and much appreciated on this.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add, I'm a big fan of these deals, if you will. The city's fleet of police vehicles is aging prematurely, if you will. And this advances the city's position to maintain its fleet of police cruisers. And essentially, we're getting a turnkey vehicle that can enter service immediately to the specs that our law enforcement officers need, and at a low-level cost to the city. Albeit these vehicles probably won't have as long of a life as they were previously used, but we certainly need them to continue our emergency services. So I'm a big fan of these agreements and deals that the chief has able to make, and the relationship that he has with YDOT and the Highway Patrol.
Agree.
Is this still the all-black patrol cars? It's the colored one?
They are all black, and we'll do the white lettering on them.
Which brings up the question for the OCD folks. Are we changing to all black in the city fleet, or are we going to be the black and whites?
I
Hate to
hate
put you on
black
the
police
spot.
cars. I'd love to have all white ones. Pat Conley, on the other hand, is a proponent of black. So I suspect at some point in time we'll be about 50-50.
I would mention further, Mr. Mayor, is this is our time for snow here in eastern Wyoming, and our current fleet are front-wheel drive. Most of the sedans are.
The old Chargers are actually rear-wheel drive, which is even worse.
I stand corrected, rear-wheel drive. So these new to us cruisers certainly will be able to hold up in our climate.
All right, gentlemen, any further questions for Chief Johnson? All right, we are on item number 4, authorization to purchase used 2020 Dodge Charger police package from Wyoming Highway Patrol for $8,000. And I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase in item 4 and to approve that a check be issued to pay for this.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to authorize the purchase of the Dodge Charger police package from the Highway Patrol as presented for $8,000 and authorize the issuing of payment forthwith.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Victorin to approve and authorize the purchase of the 2020 Dodge Charger police package as presented in item 4 and to approve immediate payment for the same. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, item number 4, all those in favor of approving the purchase of the used 2020 Dodge Charger police package from the Wyoming Highway Patrol for $8,000 and to approve a check to be issued immediately for payment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that purchase is approved and that check will be issued.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. All right, we are on item number 5, agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates. Staff recommends approving the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates for construction, administration, and inspection on the East D Street Improvements Project in the not-to-exceed amount of $523,418. And I would call on Director of Public Works, Jeff Harkins.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As some of you may remember, this project was one of the projects that we had previously submitted for ARPA funding, but never received that grant funding. So in an attempt to move this project forward, we did some creative financing. We went after clean water SRF loan, drinking water SRF loan, capital construction loan. We're using urban systems money from the Urban Systems Committee, and there's a little bit of county, or not county, but city gas tax funding to bring the total cost of funding for this project to about $7 million. This is one of the last projects that I inherited before coming to work for the city of Torrington. It was started back in 2009, and the design and preparation of the plans and specs were completed originally back in February of 2011. So it's been on the shelf for a long time, and as a result of that, when we went back to MC Schaff, we asked them to go back through the plans, update them to the current standards, which they did, and they completed that in 2022. So we've already gone through DEQ. This project was ready to go out to bid, and actually it was bid on February 12th. And it's got a 30-day advertising period, so bid opening should be in about mid-March. Okay, so as a result of that, I asked MC Schaff to go ahead and give us a proposal for the construction, administration, and inspection of the project, since they are the engineer of the project. They gave that to you. It's attached to your agenda. Their not to exceed amount of $523,418 is in line with what is typically a 10% amount of the contract award for this type of services. And with that being said, if you have any questions, be happy to try to answer them.
I just want a mental picture. So this is the East D project from Maverick, the highway.
It's going to go, yeah, Highway 26 all the way up to 30th Avenue.
Okay, and this is going to be concrete streets, PVC 8-inch water line,
Correct?
replace existing storm sewers,
Correct?
17 storm sewer manholes and 36 standard curb inlet catch basins. And as I said, reconstruct the street with 8 inches of PCC, including curb, gutter, sidewalk, and access ramps. So a whole revamping of East D, right?
It'll be all brand new, including all the underground infrastructure. So hopefully you won't have to ever cut into it for 50 years.
So the size of this project is $7 million, right?
The actual engineer's estimate is probably 5.8, but you have the engineer cost, which is that $523,000, and you have basically a 10% contingency in there, which is another $523,000. So ultimately, you're just a little bit under the 7 million. We hope.
And then we have two 20-year payback periods.
On the SRF loans, correct, but also those SRF loans have a 24%, 25% principal forgiveness.
The only thing I have is, and all the rumors are floating around today about the state cutting funding and feds cutting funding. Is all this money already appropriated?
It's already been through the SLIB and appropriated.
Kind of makes you nervous getting in that kind of debt with all the rumors floating around though.
I might add that that money, Councilman Kelly, the SRF money is federal money awarded to the state for these types of projects. But I do share your concern that the public infrastructure funding is looking more grim these days. I have a question, and I'm hopeful that the bids coming in next month will be under the total funding that we've secured. But let's say for the odd situation that they're not, are we bound to that $500,000 for the agreement if we were to not award a bid?
No, we would not be bound by that agreement.
Good question. And we talked about this at staff meeting. I don't think there's any current data on how much vehicle traffic is on that street. But by observation, that seems to me to be one of the most, if not the most used street in town. That takes traffic from the highway there all the way up to the college and the hospital and all those neighborhoods up there. If you're ever out and about, that's a heavily traveled street.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and as I live in that area, Mr. Mayor, I frequently walk in that area, and the sidewalks are miserable, I can
Yeah.
tell you that, so it would be a big improvement there.
Well, it's been, 60 years or better, I think, since anything substantial was done on that street.
You're probably close, yeah. Might be a little bit longer even, towards the lower end.
I believe that is the only street in Torrington that has it's a continuous
No stop
lane,
sign?
no
Cruise Street
stop
all the way,
sign. Yeah. Am I correct?
I think you're correct. Yeah, I think you're correct. I don't know. Chief?
Seems right to me. I think the only thing on that is that flashing yellow at 25th, and it's not a stop.
I drive it every morning, Mr. Mayor, and I can attest that especially the road surface is, you know you're there.
Well, as Mr. Harkins was saying, this thing originally started in '09, then 11 and to now. So I don't even, what is the math on that? 16 years in the works?
Would loved to awarded it in '09.
Yeah. It would have been a lot cheaper, yeah.
And if all goes well, we should see this project begin sometime this spring, coming spring.
Should be started this spring and hopefully finished up by December this year.
And we've talked about this a bit. They're not going to do all that street at once. They're going to go,
They'll probably start at Highway 26 and proceed northerly. They'll probably go one, at most 2 blocks at a time, so that, when they come back through and pave the street and stuff like that, then people can, get access back to the front of their houses in a shorter period of time than if we just tore the whole thing up and replaced the water lines and sewer lines and then came back and tried to pave it all at once.
So we're
It would be a
somewhat
real inconvenience for
trying to be
some
convenient
people.
to the residents down there.
We're trying as best we can, but there obviously is going to be some inconvenience during the construction period when they're in front of their residences.
So this project will be our project, and we have the final say over whether, how all the work's done though, right? So we don't wind up with a deal like we got on West C where when they butted the two of them together, there's a big hump there, like the state did.
There shouldn't be any humps, you're correct.
Shouldn't be on West C either, but there is,
Well,
and it gets bigger all the time.
But West C is state,
it's a state
State
highway.
highway.
But that's
lot of
what I'm
people
saying,
don't-
we won't have that problem on East D.
Boy, I sure hope not. But we do have, a warranty period, so if we do recognize something like that, we could get the contractor to come back in and fix it.
Okay.
I have one final question. I'm for the director. How will residents or I'm just going to call them utility users in that stretch of road, how will they experience a seamless service if you're going two blocks at a time?
For, you mean water use?
Mm-hmm.
Garden hoses?
I'm assuming, because I don't know, it'll be up to the contractor on how he does it. But once actually, I'm thinking the water line will probably not be replaced. I mean, the existing water line, those services probably won't be disconnected until after the new water line is put in. And what they'll probably do is run the corporation stops and everything out to the sidewalks and put them up in place. And then they can, once the water line is pressurized and chlorinated and, the bacteria is out of it and that, they may go back through and then connect up at the sidewalks, the actual service lines to the houses. But that's just my guess. Like I said, it's going to be up to the contractor how he does it. He could actually just go through and pressurize the pipe every couple of blocks and then connect the corp stops and do it that way. But it seems maybe might even be more advantageous for him just to leave that existing line in place and then pressurize the whole thing at the end, chlorinate it, and then come back through and make those connections to the service lines.
So when they come back in and make the connection at the curb stop, if there's a problem there with the line going to the residents, whose responsibility is to take care of that?
The lines to the residents are the residents' responsibility. From the corporation stop to their house to where it enters into their house, that's the responsibility of the residents. Now, if there's something, I'm sure a contractor is going to have, a certain amount of heart involved. If there's just something wrong, for a few feet of their service line, which most of them are probably going to be copper or potentially galvanized. The new stuff's all going to be pure core, which is kind of a PVC. So they can cut off and then tap back, connect that up.
Will the shut-off valves, will those all be new at every?
All the curb stops will be all new. All the valves within the line itself will all be new.
Technical question, and I don't know nothing about the engineering of this, but that 4-inch water main that is in existence, is that the water main that then services east of East D? The rest of the area there? And
I think
if so, does,
it'll service quite a few of the houses going east and west. I think there's 4-inch mains in most all of the like East, this is East D, you'll have East E, and East F will pretty much have their 4-inch water mains too.
And is that a simple arithmetic multiplication function that if you go from 4 to 8 inch, it's twice the water flow, or no?
The 4-inch mains that are in the street technically are not 4-inch diameter anymore because of the scale buildup that has happened. So in some areas, you may be down to a 1-inch diameter main. The PVC, the 8-inch is more of a code standard now. It's a minimum standard for water mains. That's basically the minimum size allowed anymore. It can go, well, obviously it's not going to have any scale buildup because it's PVC. So it will be 8-inch diameter 50 years from now. And that definitely is helpful for both, pressures to the residences and for fire flow purposes at the fire hydrants.
And Mr. Eddington, you've looked over the contract? And we've dealt with or the city's dealt with MC Shaft for a long time.
We're currently using them as our airport consultant, and we've had them do some surveying work for us on other projects, and obviously this engineering drawing for water line and storm sewer replacement. So yeah, they're a well-known company and well-respected with the city of Torrington.
So this is not replacing the actual sewer line then, right?
It's not a sanitary sewer, it's a storm sewer.
There is no sanitary sewer in that
Not
street.
in the street, no, it's all in the alleys.
And speaking of that, those people on the south end of East D have issues with, storm sewer issues when we get a heavy rain in some of those blocks.
This should help alleviate a lot of those flooding issues along East D and even some of the side streets. As, we can take the water off the side streets and put it into the storm sewer, since this will have a much greater capacity than the existing storm sewer.
Any further questions for Mr. Harkins or Mr. Eddington? I would entertain a motion in item number 5 to approve the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates for the East D Improvements Project.
Mr. Mayor, sharing the trepidation of many of the council members about future funding from the state, I would make the motion to approve this.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal, item number 5, to approve the professional services agreement with MC Schaff and Associates for the East D Improvements Project. Do I have a second?
I would second.
All right, have a second from Councilman Victor. Call for a vote. All those in favor in item 5 of approving the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates on the East D Improvements Project in the not-to-exceed amount of $523,418, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that agreement set forth in item 5 is approved. Thank you, Mr. Harkins.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 6, that's off the agenda for this evening and will be put on the agenda for next meeting, the financial report, due to the illness of Clerk Treasurer Strecker this evening. So we are now on item 7, approval of the bills from February 5th, 25 to today, February 18th of 25. And in place of Clerk Treasurer Strecker, we have Rhonda Estes, our senior clerk, to answer any questions that we may have.
I have one question under Pinnacle Bank, page 7, for Sam's Club for charcoal briquettes, and it says $547. Is that actual charcoal briquettes?
That's for the cemetery so they can thaw the graves out.
So they can what?
They buy a pallet of it, so they put it on top of the ground so they can thaw out before they dig the graves.
Oh, okay.
They've been doing a bunch.
Okay.
Did not know that.
That was a good question, and a lot of people didn't know that. A good question, Councilman Kelly. Good answer, Mr. Estes.
Got one more question on the same group on page 5 for Legacy Co-op. Do we contract diesel fuel with this Legacy Co-op?
Yes, they go out for a bid on that.
I don't know, it just seemed like looking through that, checking it, that the prices are different on some of the other
5.
purchases than other purchases.
It might be that that's how it sometimes is split between the departments, like streets and sanitation. So that's the full quantity, but it's being split between the two.
Yeah, but the dollar amount should still be the same price per gallon, though. I don't think we'd take a look at it and see what it looks like.
Let's see here.
They want to look,
I would suspect, Councilman Kelly, that especially like on the diesel, there's both dyed and ruby red. And that would likely cost, each of those are gonna cost different.
yeah, but they all say ruby dyed diesel.
So you can see the X on there, that's at the end, that's probably, there's a quantity after that. So
Oh, you've got different grades too. You have number 1 diesel and number 2.
Yeah, but they all say number 1.
My guess is that the ruby diesel might be number 2. I don't know.
I would, yeah, because it says number 1 is for the dyed. So, but those are a yearly bid, I believe is what Kelly goes out for the bid on the fuel.
Kelly does that?
It goes through purchasing.
Let's stop out there and see her and talk to her about it then.
She might be able to answer that better than I can.
Okay. I'll check with her. It seemed to me like it ought to be all the same price. If there are no more questions on the bills, I'd make a motion to approve them as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Kelly in item number 7 to approve the bills as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Deal. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Item number 7, all those in favor of approval of the bills from February 5th, 25 to February 18th of 25, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those bills set forth in item 7 are approved. Thank you, Mrs. Estes. All right, we are in item number 8, public comment, and I see Fire Chief Luis Correa back there. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We've actually slowed down quite a bit as far as call volumes go. We've had a total of, looks like, 7 calls. A couple of carbon monoxide call alarms, motor vehicle accident. We had one fire that was called in as a controlled burn, and he prematurely called and told dispatch he was done. So when the neighbor called it in, they didn't have it on the boards as a controlled burn. We were able to assist him with getting it put out because the winds had picked up quite a bit that night and didn't want it to go any further than what he was wanting to get burned. But yeah, that's about it for us. Just standard calls.
I think you guys in the area did well, given those very strong winds that we had.
Yeah, there was a couple of days where it was very, very strong.
Well, I didn't get a chance to get to the ball this year, but congratulations to everybody that won.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good.
I did have the occasion to meet with some of your finest
Yeah.
members on the Wednesday before that.
Yeah, that's.
Had a carbon monoxide detector go off at my house.
So now you have firsthand experience.
Yeah. No, they were all very professional. They come up, checked it out. Couldn't find anything wrong.
Yeah, we were happy to help. Happy that we could pinpoint where we thought it was the culprit, and that you and everyone in your household was safe.
I want to thank you guys.
All right. Any further questions or comments for Chief Correa?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. All right. We are in public comment section. Is there anybody out there in the public area that has any comments? And I always open it up to council members. Does any member of council have any public comment they would like to make?
I have a comment, Mr. Mayor. Actually,
ahead.
kind of a little bit of a lengthy comment, so
Go
I will
ahead.
try to be brief. But we don't have much of an audience left tonight, so I'm hopeful that my message can be taken with the media. I wrote some comments that I wish to speak to the residents and the business owners of our city. As an elected councilman here in the city of Torrington, I have a front row seat to our community's dialogue surrounding the property tax reduction legislation being considered right now at the Wyoming Legislature in Cheyenne. I hear a lot of discussion in my interaction with constituents as well as with customers while working in my day job. And I read a lot of comments in various areas online from private citizens, as well as local elected officials in our county, and various others across the state. For some voices on one side of the argument for not providing property tax relief, there is the talk of possibly the dire consequences of defunding emergency services. And on the other side of the discussion, there are voices that are pleading for their elected representatives to reduce the burden felt in the aftermath of the pandemic of COVID-19 by providing relief in some way from rising property taxes. And regardless of opinions surrounding the idea of property tax relief, I wish to reassure the people and businesses here in the city of Torrington that defunding emergency services will never and should never be a topic for consideration. I also want to remind folks that are watching the progress of property tax relief bills in Cheyenne that there is much more scrutiny to undergo and many amendments that are likely to come. In fact, today, Senate File 69 was laid back on third reading for at least another day. And I would also like to remind folks that any surviving legislation will also require the concurrence of the Senate, the signature of the governor, or it will need to endure any veto override attempts. So despite much noise circulating in state news articles and social media about the potential consequences of giving tax relief to the people of Wyoming, I think I can speak for my colleagues and the mayor here in stating that unequivocally to the residents and business owners in the city of Torrington that your city government will fund emergency services to include police, fire, and emergency medical services, regardless of whatever property tax relief may or may not find the signature of the governor. Our community members can rest easy at night knowing that our first responders will arrive whenever you call, and our highly trained personnel will continue to be swift in those response times, arriving equipped with well-maintained vehicles, equipment, and the full understanding that our community demands and appreciates their presence. Voices in the ether that fearmonger communities into believing that emergency services may be cut as a result of property tax relief should be rejected. Property tax relief or not, funding emergency services is priority number one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Victorin.
While we're on that subject, though, when you guys went to Cheyenne for WHAM, what is WHAM's position on the property tax? Does anybody know?
I believe, Mr. Mayor, I can state that I didn't attend WHAM. I wasn't able to, but I think they are neutral until the removal of backfill is considered. If backfill is, and when I say backfill, that's the portion that's lost to revenue. If there is no backfill, then WHAM is opposed. If there is backfill, then I think WHAM remains neutral on the idea.
That would be my understanding, and I'd just like to reiterate, I agree with Councilman Victorin, there's a long ways to go. This session is 40 days, and we're just over half. There's a lot of discussion in the legislature, a lot of discussion in local groups, a lot of discussion in the newspapers and so on. Goshen County is one of 8 hardship counties in this state. A hardship county, I don't know the exact definition, but we do not have the sales tax revenue that other counties have. We don't have mineral revenue that other counties have. A lot of our sales tax revenue bleeds over to Nebraska or even to Cheyenne. Historically, if there are property tax cuts, the legislature will provide backfill, especially for the hardship counties. So if there's a diminishment in revenue to the city from property taxes, then they backfill that and equalize that, especially for the hardship counties. And I would agree that historically, that's what the legislature does. Our local representatives have historically gone along with that and supported that. They live here, you know. The counties, the city of Torrington, and the various towns need backfill, okay? I will say that. if they failed to and refused to do it, we would get it figured out. We would. But we're not going to leave the people in danger. We're just not going to do that. None of these gentlemen even wants to come close to doing that. So believe it or not, I'm optimistic about the legislature. I think when they get started on such a big issue like this, there's a lot of politics and a lot of chaos and a lot of who knows what going on. And I think they settle down and they govern to their best ability. We've been a state since 1890 and we're still here. Okay, so I do have faith that in the end, the reasonable minds will prevail down there.
Yeah, and I attended all of WHAM, and that generally is what I picked up, that local legislators that I talked to and with whom I had any contact were in favor of backfill at the very beginning. That has changed and gone back and forth. And WHAM is in favor of generally supporting people and property tax relief. The backfill is the issue, which is a separate issue from the property tax relief. And there are several bills relative to property tax relief. The major one that people are talking about is the 50% reduction, and that's been amended to evaluation based on a time period which doesn't include necessarily the big increase, which folks have seen, particularly in places like Teton County. Property tax relief, I hate to say it publicly, but is probably more important to somebody who owns a $3.5 million home in Jackson Hole than it is to somebody who owns a $200,000 home in Goshen County and Torrington.
So, all right.
But they've had property relief for the last, 3 years now? They have an application you can fill out for the state, and you get about half of your property taxes back.
I believe that's if you meet certain criteria.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's there.
Yeah, there are
Some people that
current
take advantage
programs
of it.
allowed for certain homeowners.
And even way back when in the 70s, they had the Homestead Act that did the same thing.
And I think we're all sympathetic to those folks that are on fixed income. I would be one of those people sitting here myself. Sympathetic to their plight and how this affects them, particularly with the inflationary rate that continues to be a concern for folks. But yes, emergency services and first responders, that's something that we will always take care of. There may be other places that cuts will have to be made, but we're going to take care of the citizens.
Yep.
And that was the basis of my comments, Mr. Mayor, was to reassure the residents and the business owners that those funding those emergency services is a priority, and we take that very seriously. So,
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That was a good discussion. Appreciate it. All right. Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, we have completed this night's agenda. This meeting is adjourned, and thank you, and stay warm.